Hello and welcome to Bending Perspective, a podcast about Avatar the Last Airbender. Today we're going to be covering the episodes The Swamp, Avatar Day, and The Blind Bandit in Season 2.
And my name is Abigail.
I was getting to that. My name is Emily.
I've already introduced myself.
Okay, that's Abby.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Adrian.
Okay. So, we're going to start by the swamp. The gang is flying over a swamp, and Aang starts going down towards it without even realizing why, because he feels like the earth is calling to him. He wants to go because of what Boomy told him about waiting and listening to the earth. The rest of the gang says, no, it's creepy. Decide to keep flying on. Then a tornado comes and brings them down. They get separated from Appa and Momo, and the swamp is really creepy. They fall asleep. And they are woken by, vines around them, pulling them in different directions, and they're separated. And when they're separated, Aang sees a little girl in a fancy dress he's never seen before with a flying boar. Katara sees her mother, and Sokka sees Yue. Then they get back together, but Momo and Appa are still not there, and Momo and Appa are being chased by basically Floridians. Or people from Louisiana, Cajuns, our people, and get captured. And then the trio gets back together, and are attacked by this swamp monster situation, and they fight it. And turns out it's just a waterbender, and he is protecting the swamp. So he takes them to the center of the swamp, which is the tree, and he tells them that everything is connected. The swamp is just one big tree. We're all connected. The ties that bind us are deeper than things that are different. Good message, building the spirituality of the show. And then Aang uses that connection to find Appa and Momo, and they get out of there. Yeah, basically. So what are our thoughts?
Very cute episode for Appa and Momo.
Appa was so cute.
I love how they communicate with each other. It's adorable.
Very cute. Alright, any other thoughts?
Interesting, the waterbenders can bend plants.
Yeah.
The water inside the plants.
Yeah, he explains that he's bending the water inside the plants to make the little swamp monster situation.
I think this is our first bending of water we see.
Yes.
Which goes back to what I said in the very beginning. People are mostly water, so eventually this is just letting us down the road toward we're going to be able to bend people.
All right.
That's an interesting theory.
That's dark, first of all.
It was very, I'm going to change that immediately. I thought it was really cool to see the different way that I'm going to call them Cajun benders, bended, instead of the people from the actual water tribe.
Yeah.
How they bended differently. Yeah. It was a lot quicker and not as flowy, I guess.
Yeah.
It was cute when they were like, oh, we're cousins.
Yeah. Because I was what are our thoughts on the building the lore / spirituality part of the show? With the tree and the connection and all that stuff.
It wasn't my favorite episode for sure. I mean, it was nice to see. I think it did add a little bit to the overall lore of the show, so it wasn't a completely filler episode that didn't give us anything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great. It's interesting. Of course, we watched 3 episodes, so we know who the girl that Aang saw is at this point. At the time that you watched it, I assumed at the time I watched it that she was someone from a past life. I didn't realize, I didn't make the connection that it was somebody he would see and meet in the future. Yeah. I figured it was related to Avatar lore, to, past life Avatar stuff. So, for a little while, of course, it got answered 2 episodes later, but...
Yeah.
I still don't understand how they got called, and I don't think at this point they do either, how they got called down to the swamp. Or, what called them down.
It's sort of implied that the tree, or I guess the swamp in general, has its own intelligence.
Yeah.
And it was the one calling to Aang and asking him to come down.
I think this is the first...
Why?
Well, I think this is the, I don't know. I like the idea that the nature wants to help Aang.
Well, that's all great and dandy, but I don't know if when you tell me that it was calling down to Aang, that's almost like a cry for help. But Aang didn't help with anything.
But he learned things that will help him.
That will help him.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have seen that the Fire Nation is not particularly kind to nature, so perhaps
Neither is Sokka.
perhaps the intelligence of the swamp realizes that helping the Avatar will protect it.
Yeah. I mean, because Aang is good with the spiritual world.
Yes, he's
and
getting
that's
better.
Basically nature, right?
Well, the thing is, I figure that the swamp has a spirit, just like that forest had Heibai, right? And so there's probably a spirit of that swamp. It's probably an alligator. But anyway, that he could connect with. And maybe it'll come back later. Maybe this is a setup, and maybe the spirit of that swamp will help in a more concrete way later on. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good theory. Alright, any other thoughts on the swamp? Daniel, any thoughts?
It's interesting to see another culture of waterbenders.
Yeah.
Interesting to know there's not just a northern and southern water tribe, there's almost this middle water tribe.
Yeah. Alright, I guess we'll move on to Avatar Day. Mom?
Okay, so Avatar Day. The 3-0 is flying, and they're kind of being pursued by some Fire Nation soldiers, and they get to this village. And at first they're super excited because the village says they're celebrating Avatar Day, and Aang is like really, kind of into that. But it turns out that their Avatar Day is like an anti-Avatar Day.
Time out, they weren't flying. They were asleep and got attacked.
Yeah, okay. They're usually flying.
But they weren't.
Okay, continue. Well, they got attacked by the rough rhinos.
They did, okay. They got attacked by the rough rhinos.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, this village does not like the Avatar, and they were actually burning 3 Avatar effigies, Avatar Kyoshi, Avatar Roku, and Aang. So that tells us one thing, is that like Aang's, likeness has spread. But anyway, so when Aang reveals that he's the Avatar, they kind of arrest him and accuse him of killing like the founder of their town, this Conqueror Chin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's put in jail, and so Katara and Sokka set out in like a little investigative duo to try to get evidence to acquit Aang and get him free. And this goes on for quite a while. Meantime, we have subplot Zuko, Uncle Iroh. Zuko is wearing the blue spirit mask and like robbing people consistently. Uncle Iroh's not happy about it. You can tell because he keeps asking him, like, where did you get this stuff and all. And it ends with Zuko saying that, he just needs to go off on his own, and he leaves Uncle Iroh, which is very sad.
The Blind Panther.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I have my subplots confused. Back to the Avatar Day. In Avatar Day, they get enough evidence to acquit him, and they have a bunch of little things. It's not important. But anyway, they get to the trial day, and it turns out that the trial is pretty much a farce, and no matter what they say, they don't really get to bring evidence, and the town counselor, whoever, gets to decide everything. So he finds Aang guilty, and they dress Aang up like Avatar Kyoshi with hope that Avatar Kyoshi will kind of come set the record straight and like prove that the Avatar is innocent. And it works. And Avatar Kyoshi shows up like a boss and says, yeah, I did that. I am guilty because I totally killed that guy. And it's implied that, yeah, and I would do it again. So then she explains stuff that happens. They convict Aang, they spin the wheel of punishment, and it lands on boiling alive or something, and then the rhinos show up, and they want the Avatar to protect them, so they change the wheel to community service and ask Aang to protect them, and so they fight off the rhinos, and there you go.
Okay. Yes.
I have found that some of my favorite parts of this entire series is the flashbacks to the other avatars.
Yeah.
The thing. I love the flashbacks because the animation changes. Or maybe not the animation, but like the hue or the color or whatever changes, and it's so cool.
They're very good about that with visuals and
It's
changing.
so cool.
They make sure you understand this happened in the past.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this is widely accepted as not a great episode, but I've never had a problem with this episode.
Well, all right. First of all, I want to say that I'm temporarily switching allegiance from Mike Zuko to Mike Avatar Kyoshi for a moment.
Don't let this
Because I love that section because it's so unexpected. It's such a twist. Like suddenly Avatar Kyoshi embodies Aang and you're thinking there's going to be this great revelation and she's like, nah, I killed him.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
Not only did I kill him, but I split my land off of this and they show this flashback to this incredible bending, like massive. She's raising huge pillars of earth. She's raising lava and fire and using air bending and water, everything. And it was just really awesome. So I really enjoyed that. I think the reason why this episode may not be well received is that the whole investigative subplot, the whole part of that, is just silly. It winds up just being so pointless.
Yeah.
That I think that's why it's like most of the episode is irritating because of that.
Yeah, but I can guarantee you the kids in my class, that's going to be the only part they focus on.
Yeah. I really enjoyed watching Avatar Kyoshi in action. That was really cool.
I want to see Aang with fans.
Yeah, the fans were
saw
neat.
it
A little bit, but I think that's so cool.
The whole thing was
and
cool.
if you, like Mom, like Avatar Kyoshi, apparently they came out with a comic book series about her origins.
That's pretty cool.
So you can read that now.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that part of it was really neat. The Zuko Iroh subplot is setting up
Which I don't think
Yeah, look, I'm
so.
confused
Yeah,
now.
it totally did, by the way. Completely, 100% happened in this episode. No Zuko and Iroh appear in The Blind Bandit.
Really?
No, well, whatever.
So,
Why do they put
It's still
such a
fun to
big
make
plot point in
fun.
a filler episode then?
I don't know.
to make it not a filler episode. They spend too much time in The Blind Bandit with everything else. There's too much happens in that episode for all the subplot stuff. So, the Zuko and Iroh subplot. I'm back to Mike Zuko, by the way. The
Okay.
Avatar Kyoshi
We don't
thing was
accept you.
temporary.
Traders are not welcome.
Told you it was temporary.
Some kind of fire man.
Yeah, but my Zuko is kind of all based on Trader, is it not?
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. What was
That
that?
hurt. That actually hurt.
So
okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. And I kind of rewatched a little bit of that just because I wanted to see, more and study it a little. And I think that here's what I really like about the way they're treating Zuko's character so far. In most kid shows that have somebody, I guess, on the road to switching sides, which I think is what we're going for here.
Okay.
Interesting theory.
Well, no, it's pretty obvious. The rift that's being thrown between him and his father is very clear that his father is not going to take him back. So where is he going to wind up? Okay. So anyway,
all by himself.
To be fair, his
Oh.
father is the main villain in the whole show. So, it's not like it doesn't make sense that huge rift is there. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a huge rift with everyone in Ozai.
not with his daughter.
Okay, well.
Yeah, come on, Em, do better than that.
So I think, but here's where I think Zuko's head is at the moment. Okay, I think his head is at. He had this vision when he left, this fantasy, if you will, that he was going to capture the Avatar and come back, and his dad was going to welcome him back with open arms, throw him parades, and it was going to be, look at my wonderful son, who I love dearly, who has brought back the Avatar. That was going to be great and wonderful. And I think he knows that is not going to happen. But I think now he's still set on getting the Avatar. I don't think he's given that up at all.
Okay.
But I think now it's more of, I have to bring the Avatar back to prove to my dad that I'm just as worthy as my sister. But he knows that he's not going to be, supported in this now. He knows that he's been cut out. He knew that a little bit already with the way that Zhao was given, the task of bringing back the Avatar and had all the support, and he didn't. But now he knows he's basically an antagonist to his own family now. And he knows that he's got to... So I still think he's going to keep coming after Aang because, see, he was raised to believe that the Fire Nation was...
The best.
Yeah, and that going out and...
Not only the best, deserve to be everywhere.
Yes, and so he was
The
raised believing... one thing that struck with me as I was thinking back on things that happened is that he goes to the insult when he's dealing with Katara of calling her a peasant.
Yeah.
So he obviously sets himself above them.
Well, I mean, not only is he a Fire Nation, he's a literal prince.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea, though, that our society is so advanced
Yeah.
and we are so technologically proficient and we are so much better than these Earth Kingdom and Water Tribe peasants that we deserve to, and it's a good thing that the Fire Nation comes in and occupies your village and brings all of this stuff to you. We're making your life better. He was raised to believe that. So it's going to be a very slow, long, painful extraction to get those ideas out of his head. And I love the
If
fact...
they come out of his head.
But I love the fact that it didn't happen quickly. You know, it wasn't this instant turnaround.
Do you think it's happening right now?
Yes, slowly but surely.
An interesting theory.
I mean, he's literally robbing people.
He is, because he still thinks he's right. But it's going to slowly start turning around.
Okay. Whatever.
I have faith.
I want to mention one thing from this episode and the last episode. Mom didn't mention in the summary. They did this whole thing when they were attacked in the beginning, where Katara and Aang went back and got their staff and her scrolls. And also in the swamp, you see in the beginning it opens with Katara looking at scrolls. I love that we still see her glimpses of her learning.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's not automatic. They didn't just get the scrolls and suddenly know how to do everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's cool.
I like the rough rhinos. That's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, it's cool.
Instead of rough riders, they're rough rhinos.
Yeah.
Alright, can we switch gears real quickly? So, regarding the Fire Nation and the Fire Lord's plan to, I'm assuming, rule the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so what are the... Is it genetic bending? Is that a genetic factor?
Ooh, good question.
Yes.
So, like, if Fire Nation takes over the entire world, Earthbenders aren't going to cease to exist unless they kill them all. Is that their plan? Or trying to get all the
We
Benders to exist?
see earlier that they just occupy Earth villages. That was their plan with the Airbenders, but it doesn't seem to be their plan with the Earthbenders.
But they removed all their vendors from that one village especially.
That's just about getting them. Yeah, I guess we remove all the villagers and they die in prison.
I think we
Yeah,
learn
and they
later
don't have
on.
Bender babies.
I think we learn later on. I don't know if it's. I think we do that. They use Earthbenders for their talents as well. Like they help them make metal by mining up ore and things like that. So
Yeah.
they do try to convert some Earthbenders.
Yeah, I don't think they're wanting to, like, be the only people that can bend.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think they are as long as it makes it easier for them, if that makes sense.
yeah. I think their only plan to exterminate an entire culture was just for the Airbenders. I think they just want to conquer
Pablo.
and occupy.
Well, I think I would argue that they're not scared of destroying Earth Kingdom culture.
No,
But
not
one was
that.
the-
No, because they
No.
think their culture is superior.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that. But they're not bent set on killing absolutely everyone like they were with the Airbenders.
Yeah, that's true. Also, we got the concept of that they have waterbender money.
Yes,
But they
each
give
tribe
them
has
money.
each kingdom has.
That
their
was
money.
very cool. And the North obviously gave them some money, which was
So,
nice.
That was my next thing. It struck me for the first time since ever seeing this series. It's probably because I'm significantly older. I'm like, why haven't it? I mean, it's kind of addressed, but if you're an adult in the Northern Water Tribe, you wouldn't want the weight of the world to be a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and then just let them go on their way. Do you know what I mean? But then I was thinking, well, there's not like a place that the Avatar, he has to travel to learn the different
right.
thing. Like, there's not a place where adults can take care of him and he can learn. But it seems weird to me that they come across all these adults that they
they
are
let 'em
allies, and they just give them food and money. And it's like, oh, good luck, I hope you don't die. Like, I don't know, it's
Well,
kind
he's
of
the
crazy.
I
Avatar.
think maybe they would
Well,
send
he's
people with
12.
him.
But he's hard to
Well,
kill.
they do
Yeah.
send people with them, and there was sort of a chain of that. I mean, they were sent to the Earth Kingdom fortress, and they were supposed to get escorts.
That's right.
But
They were
denied
supposed to
them.
get or escorts. That's
They,
right.
they
That's
denied
good
them because
money.
they couldn't trust them.
Yeah, I think,
That's right.
I mean, the main reason is that it does not exist a place where a master waterbender knows a master earthbender. that Aang would be safe and learn.
That's another thing, is that the North Pole was cut off. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about that the last time, is that the North Pole was completely cut off from the rest of the world.
Do we know if that happened that way in the past? Like if Aang had stayed to be 16, would they have
Yes.
brought masters to him,
That
or
sounds
would he
like
have gone?
That sounds like a spoiler to me, so we're not going to.
Oh.
Well, we already know that when he was as young as he was, they were already sending him to each of the nations.
True, because he had met people in
I
each
don't know if
nation.
that was just because he's the Avatar, or if that's because Airbender kids did that.
Yeah.
You think all Airbender kids
I think so.
follow
Well, they are
They're
nomads. They are
keep
nomads.
forgetting they're nomads.
But they have a home.
So Daniel
okay.
thinks that tell her what you think.
I think that only the monks live there permanently. I think most of the air nomads are literally just nomads, and they just go from temple to temple or just around the land. I think the only people that are actually stay there permanently are monks.
And then they travel around to the different monks.
Yeah, and they just travel between the air temples. I think
And
most
everywhere in
Aang's
between.
been to the different air temples,
Mhm.
so
I think what it is just
I
the
can
monks.
get
live there
behind that.
permanently.
I can get behind
Alright,
that.
let's go to last episode. I'm excited about last episode.
we don't have
I'm
anything
excited
else to
about
say
the
about
next
Avatar, Dan?
episodes.
I mean, really, really liked the Kyoshi scene. I know we sort of mentioned it, but
Oh, it was awesome.
it was a really, really good
Yeah, can we
scene.
talk about how different she is from Aang?
Yes.
Yes, and also
Aang
why is she so big? Like she was so much taller than Chin the Conqueror.
Chin was just small.
I think he was small.
He was
Yeah,
Napoleon.
did you see how big her feet are? Don't act like she's not a
she's
big woman.
tall. She is tall, but Chin is also really small.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how she literally changed the way that the Earth is. She just made an island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I don't like you. I'm going to make myself an
It
island.
is a little subject that he was like this big tyrant, Napoleon or whatever, and she only got involved when it was her home.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah,
girl.
and then, well, no, it was, so I don't understand that also. Does she just live there? I guess, it's hard for me to imagine any other avatar other than Aang, obviously. So, like, I don't understand the time. So did those avatars just live in their home, and if something came up, they went and helped? It's not like there was always a war going
Well,
on,
we saw
right?
Roku live it. No, he hasn't. I wonder if Kyoshi has an animal guide.
That's still not really answering my question, but
I don't know.
okay, cool.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay.
yeah, she did get involved when that village was threatened, and that village, I guess, eventually became the people living on Kyoshi Island that we met
and
before.
she said it was her hometown.
Yeah,
So
she
it was
said
her
that was
hometown, so
kind
that's-
of selfish.
It is, but hey, would you argue with her? Because I wouldn't.
No, I'm pretty stubborn. I would probably argue with her.
Yeah.
She was really cool, though. It was a neat little glimpse, and we saw again that Aang has no memory of what happens when another avatar is speaking through him.
Oh, also, just to add, this really doesn't have any bearing, but the way they set up times, it's like the creators have come out and said, yeah, we realized the way we set up the timeline in this episode, Kyoshi was like 200 years old. It's fine. She was like 200 years old when she died. Okay. Like the timelines were weird. They didn't want that to happen, but they were like, we're not going to change it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool. Next episode, please.
Okay, Dan.
Alright, so the Blind Bandit starts off with them entering an Earth Kingdom town, Sokka wanting a bag, just a little dumb subplot, but they end up going to this earthbending school.
Yeah.
On a free coupon. Aang doesn't like it, but they do overhear some other students talking about Earth Rumble 6, and how it's full of good earthbenders. So Katara manages to persuade them to tell her where it is. They go to Earth Rumble 6, and they see a bunch of essentially wrestlers fight. And they see the champion turns out to be a small blind girl who Aang sees just sort of waits and listens and strikes at the perfect opportunity. And this person resembles his vision from the swamp, the little girl we saw there. So Aang ends up fighting her and wins by using airbending. And he tries to find her again and realizes that she's probably the, sort of daughter of the Beifongs, a very rich family that some people don't believe exists because they hide her from the world. So he ends up going to the Beifongs and, they sneak into their house the first time and just meet her in the yard. But then he just enters the Beifong house as the Avatar and starts talking, sort of hinting at the Beifongs to say, hey, I could really use an earthbender and your daughter seems pretty good. And eventually it's the wrestlers, believing that they were cheated out of their money because they didn't see Aang do any earthbending, attack both Toph, who is this girl, and Aang, and manage to capture them both. And then the Beifongs pay up the ransom and free Toph, but they refuse to free Aang because he'll fetch a better price in the Fire Nation. So they ask Toph for help in freeing Aang, and she does. And she then tells her parents that she's an earthbender and she likes to fight and this is who she truly is. And her parents deny her and say she's going to be kept under even stricter rules. And then she sneaks off and joins the group. Totally with her father's permission.
Yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are our thoughts? Very good episode. Probably in my top 5.
So I really liked about this episode when Kintara has to go handle the boys that won't give them information. And when it first popped up and was first happening, I was like, what direction are they going to take this in? As in, like, she's going to flirt with them to get their information? But no, she comes back as, like, a boss and is, like, threatening them and intimidating them for them to give her information. So I really liked how they did that instead of it being flirty or whatever.
Yeah. It was cool. And Sokka's water tribe, when they returned to get information, was very funny.
Yeah.
Sokka, this entire episode was so Sokka.
Yeah, Sokka's getting funnier.
Yes.
And you can tell that Sokka and Aang's relationship is much better.
Well, he's getting more comfortable in general.
Yeah.
Like, we're just seeing more of Sokka.
Yeah.
So it was cool how she uses kind of like it's almost like a form of echolocation, I guess. She uses the vibrations.
Seismic sense.
Okay, so she uses vibrations to see, which is why Aang was able to defeat her because he was not touching the ground.
Right
on his
love
feet.
That.
You know,
that makes complete sense.
It does make complete sense.
I mean, they're bending rocks, but okay.
No, I mean that an airbender would be light on his feet.
And it would be difficult for her to hear where he is.
I'm talking about in the context of the show, Abigail.
So yeah, that was really neat, and I enjoyed that part. Toph's interesting, very much so. So I'm excited to get to know her better.
Yeah.
I wondered why the parents, so were they ashamed of her is why they didn't tell people that she existed?
In that line, I haven't had a friend and I'm 12 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they were letting her be trained. They were letting an earthbender train her. So why even let her be trained if you weren't going to let her use it?
And like you said, the boys didn't even know she existed. They're like, we think she lives in this house, but they don't have a daughter.
Right. I mean, the Beifongs don't have a daughter.
Don't even know she exists.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Oh, it's the first time we see a wealthy home in this universe. Mm-hmm. That was interesting.
Is their symbol... Is it significant? Is it a play on when pigs fly? What was the deal with the winged boar?
I think it's just a flying boar.
Okay.
I think it was supposed to make the vision in the swamp a little bit more mystical, but then turned out to have a very real meaning.
Yeah. Okay. I do get the sense that we're supposed to pick up from that it's often rich families will have like an official seal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that seems like a reasonable thing. Oh yeah, I love when they introduce her, we have a close-up on her eyes, so we know she's blind, but then when they pan back and she's so small in the middle of those two women. Oh, she's also 12, Aang's age.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. Okay, I did a little research, and Toph, as far as I can tell, is the only born blind cartoon character ever.
Really?
Yes. There's a bunch of cartoon characters that go temporarily blind for plot points, which is a little weird. There was an old cartoon about an old man, but that's just because he was old. But we're talking cartoon though. There's a bunch of, and TV wise for women, she's definitely the top to have the most power. There's a bunch of comic book characters.
Yeah, like Daredevil. Is it Daredevil?
Yeah, Daredevil. Yeah, Daredevil. And there's also I'm talking about women though, but there's also...
But he wasn't born blind.
No. There's also, a bunch of female blind characters. A lot of them are villains, interestingly enough.
Huh.
Also, I would argue she's one of the most, kid-accessible blind character. The closest would be Mary Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie, because she was blind with scarlet fever. But that was, again, she wasn't born blind, and that was into the show. Her going blind was a part of the show.
Right.
It was a plot.
Yeah.
And
I got this from a Braille website, so they compiled all the lists. I definitely get the sense she's one of the most loved. Because she's...
I love
awesome.
Toph.
So
Well, she's so
I
capable.
remember really, 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 really liking Toph. But when I was watching this episode, I realized I cannot remember another scene. Like, I remember liking her. And she stuck out to me like a sore thumb from the entire series. But I don't remember the episodes. So I think that's going to make this a lot more exciting because I know
Also,
I love her.
Can we talk about how awesome the wrestling thing was?
Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
It was
And
Yeah.
Sokka was amazing during that.
the boulder.
The boulder.
The boulder doesn't know what's happening.
Talking in third person.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, it was so. Why? Oh, these are great seats. Why isn't anybody sitting here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also good.
Oh, and the belt. I love the little moment at the end where she goes, and I think you owe me that belt, Sokka. He's like, oh, man.
And then forget she's blind and just tosses it at his head.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a great Sokka scene.
So, what must it be like for her to fly on Appa?
I think we might be getting a view of that in future episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good observation.
What do
Mom.
you think?
I think it'd be
Mom?
very disconcerting for her
Yeah.
because she's so used to having contact with the earth. It's going to be I would think it would be very, because then she would probably feel helpless.
Yeah. Also, she's interesting because she obviously doesn't doubt her abilities, right? Like, she just straight up told her parents, I'm really good at this.
Yes.
And, like, in the ring, she is obviously very confident in her earthbending abilities. But, I don't know, she's never had a friend, though. So it's like her struggle lies in a different thing than the group's does.
Yeah, so far Katara and Aang are struggling with learning bending, and she's already learned it.
Yeah.
Well, and while she's also very confident, she also doesn't know who she is because she had to play two different people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see an outfit
Mhm.
change from white to purity and da-da-da-da.
I think
to
she's
the green.
decided that she's not the person in the white.
Oh, and I agree.
Like, she
I
tells
think
that
she
to
has
her
too.
parents.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But she did play pretend for a long time.
She did.
It's interesting to note that she's a very powerful earthbender that was taught by the original earthbenders. She didn't have
don't
really
know
a
that.
formal teacher.
We know that she didn't learn it from...
Did
Whatever
that not,
is
ha-
that?
did that not happen this
Yeah,
episode?
no, so
No.
thanks, Dan. Thank you for
How
that
did that
one.
happen this episode?
No, I can
No.
tell you which episode it is. It's in the third season.
Oh no.
But she's cool.
Suck.
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah, also the Zamboni in the
Yes.
ring.
Okay, that was funny.
That was hilarious.
That
I
was
remember the
funny.
Zamboni.
They did a badger mole clearing all the rocks.
Yes, that's right.
It's so cute.
So,
The boulder.
are the badger moles kind of like the air bison, like they air earth? Because I assume from what we learned that multiple airbenders had sky bison. Aang's not unusual in that because there were
Yeah.
sky
Yeah.
bison.
Yeah,
There
everywhere.
were races and whatever. So are badger moles just a common thing in earthbending villages and stuff?
Well,
we just
they-
have badger moles?
They live in mountains.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we know so far.
Yeah, they live in mountains.
They're not a pet. You know what I mean?
Is the sky bison a pet?
He's angry.
No, he's a friend.
Our only point of reference is, it's not fair because our only point of reference right now is the Avatar, who always has a companion. So we don't know really.
Yeah, but we know other airbenders because we saw the vision of the sky bison
races,
everywhere and all that
yeah.
stuff, and we know that a lot of people had sky bison.
Yeah. Alright, any other thoughts on the Blind Bandit?
It was cool.
Oh, an
It was
introduction
good.
of another side plot of the two of them, the teacher and the wrestling guy hunting Toph down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because
Yes,
the
thank
parents
God,
want her
there's so
back.
many things to follow now.
There are a lot of threads in the air right now.
Because Zuko and what's-his-face are separated.
Iroh.
Yeah, him.
Did you
Yes.
forget Uncle Iroh?
I did.
This is upsetting to me.
Mike, Ink, Mike, Ink, Mike, Ink.
I loved Aang in this episode.
Hmm.
He was so, it's like, I love that he recognizes that nobody will ever be like her. You know, he said it multiple times. Like, she's it.
Well, she was it because the things that Boomy told him is he needed a teacher who knew how
Yeah.
to wait and listen, and we saw her do that immediately when she stepped in the ring.
Yeah.
She listened, obviously, because that's her most developed sense, because she
Yeah.
doesn't have sight. And we saw her wait patiently before she did anything until it was the right moment. So we knew immediately that she was the one, and so did he.
Yeah, I just love that he never doubted it.
No.
You know? And he just, went for it. I don't know. It's good to see Aang be confident about it. But yeah, she's awesome. She seems cool.
Yeah, he was very persistent.
Fun fact, she was originally supposed to be a very buff guy. Still blind. Still everything the same.
I think that makes another episode even funnier than...
Yeah. She
awesome.
originally was a very buff guy.
Hmm.
And, like, older than the rest of them. And I think Brian convinced them to make her a girl.
Hmm.
And
Not
small.
only that, but yeah, she's
And super
teeny
small.
tiny.
Yeah.
Also, the animation of her, like, when she hits
Sliding
Yes.
her feet. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
good stuff.
And I like how it goes up the person's body into the rock that they're hitting. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Very cool. Big fan.
Yeah, everything about her was really neat. I'm excited to see more.
We're rambling.
Yes, it's time.
Next.
It's time
That's
to go
sort of
watch
the
more
point.
episodes. I know, but we waited a long time to record these because Daniel worked several shifts in a row, so we were
Oh,
very,
man.
It's all
very
Daniel's fault.
anxious to go watch the next set of
Yeah,
episodes.
Mom
Hey,
saw, we finished the last episode, and Netflix said, next up, like, Zuko alone. And Mom was like, what? Wait 5 days. So, she's very excited to go see.
I'm
I'm so excited.
I'm not excited. I'm very worried
You're
because I bet I'm going to be
Mom,
sad.
quit crying.
I'm going to be
Mom,
sad.
Stop crying, Mom. Hey, Mom,
Alright.
no tears. Save it for the pillow, Mom.
Favorite episode of the three?
I'm
Blind Bandit?
on Bandit.
Blind Bandit.
Yep, unanimous.
Alright, anybody jumping ship? I am. I'm going Blind Bandit.
Whoa!
There's nothing bad about this episode.
No, I agree.
It's a good episode.
Yeah.
But it doesn't top Momo wearing a Fire Nation hat.
I love this episode.
I'm sticking with Blue Spirit.
Blue Spirit.
I think it's one of the most. It's like
Winter
the
solstice
best.
cartoon!
It's like the best origin story in a condensed thing ever.
It's good, though.
Yeah.
I believe me. If I was picking my favorite of season 2 so far, it's obviously this one.
Well, obviously, because you haven't jumped from Blue Spirit yet.
But when it comes to overall, I just think Blue Spirit was just a masterpiece.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Abby, it's your intro.
I don't have one, and it's an outro, ma'am.
Outro.
Play on words, been in perspective, your perspective. Winter Solstice Part 2. Momo in a Fire Nation hat. Where Mom wants me to say, "Where's Momo?"
So your outro.
Hold on, I can make something of this. Join us next episode to bend our perspective to always find Momo.
What?
I don't know.